There are millions of businesses all over our planet, and every single one of them are responsible for greenhouse gas emissions. For decades, scientists have been warning us how we need to be careful we aren't warming our planet above pre-industrial temperature levels. If we are to reach this goal, it's crucial that businesses figure out how they can eliminate their respective emissions. To do this, companies need to measure their greenhouse gas emissions to fully understand their negative environmental impact so they can start doing something about it. Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions are part of the measurement process that has been developed by the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, or the GHG protocol in daily language. It helps to categorize where the emissions occur for the company. First up are the Scope 1 emissions. This is essentially greenhouse gases that are occurring inside the organization's operations. And it includes things such as on-site fuel combustion, the company vehicles, and industrial processes. Essentially, it is all the emissions that are burned inside the company's operations. What's great about Scope 1 emissions is that companies have direct control over them, and that makes them easier to manage and influence. Take, for instance, a company's car fleet. They could start migrating over to electric vehicles, or another example could be their equipment. They could start investing in more energy efficient equipment and start reducing their emissions significantly in that area. Next up are Scope 2 emissions. These are indirect emissions and come from the electricity, heat, or steam that a company purchased to power its operations. This is the electricity that keeps the lights on, or powers your laptop, or perhaps boils the kettle so you can have a cup of tea.
What you need now is a nice hot cup of tea.
So while a company is not having direct control over its Scope 2 emissions, they can still look at ways of reducing these emissions by essentially switching to a renewable energy supplier or finding ways of improving their energy efficiency. Finally, we have Scope 3 emissions. These are all other emissions that are happening indirectly throughout a company's value chain. This includes emissions happening in the supply chain. It could be the commute of employees to and from work, waste disposal, even the use and end-of-life treatment of the products the company is selling. It's no secret that Scope 3 emissions are, without a doubt, the trickiest to measure and manage because they're often spread across multiple stakeholders. It is important to understand that for most businesses, the majority of their emissions, they sit within Scope 3. It's been estimated that, depending on the type of business, 60 to 90% of emissions sit within Scope 3. This is why it's important for businesses to engage with suppliers and partners to find ways of lowering these emissions and thereby create a more sustainable value chain. If you're unsure about how your business is performing across E, S, and G, including the Scope 1, 2, and 3, I recommend that you go ahead and do our free 10-minute scorecard test, which will give you feedback on where you need to focus your efforts. I left a link for you in the description below. Now, you might be wondering why understanding the scopes in the first place matters. By measuring and categorizing where the emissions occur, the companies can identify the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions, and they can then plan activities to reduce their negative environmental impact. Plus, it helps them set meaningful emissions reduction targets that can lead to cost savings and improved brand reputation. I'm keen to know if your business is focused on reducing emissions, and love to hear about how you're going about it in the comments below. One thing is to know where your emissions are occurring and start building strategies to recoup that negative impact. But if you want to talk about your efforts and be taken seriously, you should really be documenting your efforts in a sustainability report. So I suggest you continue on to this video, where I will talk about how you can write a fantastic sustainability report. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The algorithm really seemed to like it. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.